I had to let her go. I had to send her off I gave her a couple of recommendations of some other people that she might be able to work with. And, and said, I'm sorry. Obviously, we're not a good fit. I would love to be able to help you, but for whatever reason, we're just not a good fit. And that's what you have to do. That's the process of starting to set boundaries for yourself, because you really need to start taking care of yourself. Setting boundaries is self-care. And it's self-love. You can't serve your other clients if you are constantly trying to please everybody, and then it's a recipe for burnout. I am Gloria Grace Rand, founder of the Love Method and author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Live, Love, Engage: How to Stop Doubting Yourself and Start Being Yourself. In this podcast, we share practical advice from a spiritual perspective on how to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically, so you can create a life and business with more impact, influence, and income. Welcome to Live, Love, Engage. Namaste. If you've ever found yourself saying yes to clients who drain your energy, this episode is your permission slip to do things differently. Because I'm going to be sharing some practical tools to help you to market authentically, as well as sharing some light language with you to strengthen your boundary muscles and help you develop renewed confidence in your own innate worthiness. But first, I do want to officially welcome you to Live, Love, Engage. I am Gloria Grace, founder of Align to Shine Academy, and I empower women over 50 to overcome life's challenges so they can embrace who they are, lead boldly, and shine their light in the world. And I hope that you are one of those lovely women who are listening or watching this podcast on YouTube right now. And I'm just going to even put in an early plug. If you're not subscribed already, make sure that you subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube, so you'll be connected with us. So yeah, this is, boundaries. Sometimes we don't set boundaries because we are trying to please people, and instead of pleasing ourselves. And I know that I've definitely experienced this in the past, where I have been that people pleaser, and it even came up again. I thought I sort of was having it handled, and then when life throws you new challenges, it can come up again. And so I think the last time that I was really involved in this was shortly after my sister passed. I was in a coaching program at the time, and lovely coaches that were helping me, and they were really focusing at the time on helping me to choose a niche. At the time, I was still focused on doing copywriting. And I, went along with these recommendations, even though my heart really wasn't in it. And I just felt like I was just throwing darts at a wall, and nothing was sticking. And as a result, for me, and certainly for lots of other people who are people pleasers in business, then I was attracting clients that didn't really, they were misaligned, frankly. And I also was undercharging for my services, and I'd been doing that for a very long time, frankly. And I wasn't really sharing my authentic voice. And also, being a people pleaser can really lead to a lot of resentment and burnout if you're not careful. So let's talk about how this shows up in your marketing in particular. So it can be where you are over explaining what your value is, and as I mentioned, undercharging for services for sure, um, and even apologizing for them. You know, when you are, let's say someone, wants to hire you, but they feel that you're too expensive, then you might say, "Well, yeah, I'm sorry," or, uh, you might actually wind up lowering your prices in order to get that client when you need to be standing your ground and saying, "No, this is my price." And if, and there's other ways that you can handle someone who comes at you with that, saying, "Oh, you're too expensive." Well, you can offer them maybe something else of value and say, well, maybe throw in a bonus, for instance. And also explain to them that the cost of not taking action, could actually wind up costing them more in the long run. And so it's actually your service might be really very affordable when they look at it from that perspective. So it's, you know, also part of it is maybe you're posting content that, again, doesn't really align with you. And I know I have been guilty of that in the past where I was trying too hard to follow other people's examples and not really own the truth of who I am and to speak from the heart. And I've definitely do that now. I much prefer speaking from the heart, and I encourage you to do that. And that's what I, work with my clients on doing as well. So speaking of clients, how does people pleasing and not having boundaries show up there? Well, I tell you, it's accepting boundary pushes. Like for instance, not establishing criteria of say, okay, I'm going to be available between X and Y time. And I'm not going to be available on the weekends, let's say, unless it's a really dire emergency. And, and then you could say, okay, well, you could text me then, but it's really got to be an emergency. So not setting those boundaries can have you working all the time, and these wonderful phones of ours, they're great, but sometimes we just become really too tied to them, and that can be a problem. And I actually I've got a lovely testimonial I think I've got on my YouTube channel from a client, and this was when I was still doing mainly copywriting, and that she raved about how I was always available to her. Yeah, because I wasn't setting clear boundaries. I didn't set that at the outset of our relationship to say, okay, you can contact me, I'll be available to you on these days between these hours. And, so you're welcome to contact me then. Otherwise, if it's not an emergency, if it's after hours, I'll get back to you the next day. And I didn't do that. And in my efforts to be, to please my client, I was putting too much stress on myself. So that can happen. Again, maybe it can also show up where you're doing like extra work, maybe beyond the scope of what you originally signed up to do without charging extra for that. I had a quote I had a little clause in my contract when I was working with copywriting clients. I did put that in to say, if this goes beyond the scope, then I'm going to have to charge you extra. So I did learn that lesson. Also, it's avoiding difficult conversations, perhaps not even, realizing that you've got a client that is just not a joy to work with. Let's put it that way. A client who is draining your energy, and it's just not worth it. And I'll share an example. from when I was a copywriter. Well, actually, I'll do copywriting and also coaching. So, but early on in my copywriting career, I had a lovely gentleman who wanted my help to help him get his website to be able to up there on Google, who wanted me to help him promote his business. And he would, ask me to meet in person over coffee, and we would strategize. And then he wouldn't implement what I recommended. And it really started to be extremely frustrating for me, I should say, because, I was trying to be a nice person and trying to help him, and give him all these great ideas. And then he was taking me away from other clients because I had to drive somewhere and meet him in person. And so finally, I just had to let him go. And then I've also had in coaching options or situations where I was working with a client who, again, just rejected everything every recommendation. She's like, "Oh, I've tried that. Oh, no, that doesn't work. Oh, no, 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 no." And as I was on a phone call with her, and even just now I'm remembering this, it was like my stomach started to like really tighten up in a knot. And I was just really feeling like, this isn't working. So I had to let her go. I had to send her off I gave her a couple of recommendations of some other people that she might be able to work with. And, and said, I'm sorry. Obviously, we're not a good fit. I would love to be able to help you, but for whatever reason, we're just not a good fit. And that's what you have to do. That's the process of starting to set boundaries for yourself, because you really need to start taking care of yourself. Setting boundaries is self-care, and it's self-love. You can't serve your other clients if you are constantly trying to please everybody, and then you are at your expense, because then it's a recipe for burnout. So you have to learn how to say no. My very first, well, maybe not my first, okay, my very first paying client, because I had some barter clients, but my very first paying client and the very first success I ever had with SEO copywriting at getting somebody's website up onto the first page of Google, they were life coaches. And I first became acquainted with them through a presentation they were giving where they said, "No is a complete sentence." And I loved that. So no is a complete sentence. You are allowed to say no gracefully. You want to be able to do that, but to set boundaries for yourself. So one of the advantages of being more mature, shall we say, working with I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs who are over 50. And I think is that, you have a lot of life experience that you bring to the table. And again, sometimes transitions happen that throw us for a loop. Like I mentioned, the death of my sister, maybe you wind up getting divorced or something like that. And it can really stir things up and knock you off your game. But when you can get back on there, you do have this wealth of experience and knowledge that you can tap into. And also, I think as you get older, you also realize that finally, you do get to a point where you realize you're not going to please everybody. And that's okay. It's because as entrepreneurs, that's a lesson we have to learn. There's going to be a lot of no's along the way. And you have to learn how to be okay with that. And I know as a people pleaser, it can be challenging to do that. So because you want to be able to serve clients. And I know I'm thinking back to, this is years ago, when I was at a networking event, and there was a woman who sold skin products, and they asked who is her, who's her ideal client, and she's like, well, anybody with skin. Like, well, yes, and it needs to be more defined than that, because anybody with skin doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have the money to buy your products. So you don't necessarily need to niche down totally into like a really, really small category, but you do need to define it a bit and come up with an idea of who is your ideal client that you want to work with. And this is something that I've been working on for a while, and it also evolves with time, over time, because as human beings, because we are human beings first, and then we're a business owner, we evolve, and things, we can grow. Well, we grow and we change and we evolve, and what worked in the past may not work now, and what we wanted to do in the past may not be what we want to do now. Because again, I realized after my sister passed that even though I love copywriting, and I still love to write for clients, I have had clients who I've done email marketing for, or things like that, and I still enjoy doing that. And I was feeling this pull to do this deeper work, to really be able to serve my clients in a deeper way. And that's where now I use Align to Shine Academy as one example of that, because now I am teaching what I call the love method, or LOVE method, which love is an acronym. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. So it really is about helping. I want to be able to help women to be able to just embrace their divinity, to realize that you are an amazing person who is worthy of all of the wonderful things that you want to achieve in life. And I know I'm sort of straying a little bit here from where I started, but I'm passionate about this. I really am. So I'm going to share with you some tactics, because I did promise that, of how to be able to really market yourself authentically. And I think right now might be a good time to actually, we interrupt this program now, to share a modality that has helped me to be able to set boundaries more effectively, to really release this people-pleasing tendency that I grew up with. And it really does stem from childhood. It was a tactic that I used growing up because I wanted to make peace in my family and not have get into arguments or something with my parents, because I saw how my older siblings did not always get along, shall we say. And so I was like, okay, I'm learning a lesson, because they were significantly older than me. And so growing up, I'm like, okay, I need to do a different tactic here. I'm going to see if I can just be quiet and go with the flow and try to not make waves. And then that continued as an adult, to my detriment. So what I want to do right now with you is to share a light language transmission for you. And if you are new to the podcast and you don't know what that is, I'm going to just give a short version of it. It's essentially it's a sound healing modality. I share I will be speaking and or singing language that your left side of your brain is not going to understand, but it's not meant for that. It's meant for your soul. It's meant for your heart, because it speaks directly to that. And because you're also listening to sound waves, in a sense, sound waves are very powerful, especially the song. There's lots of studies that have shown the positive impact of a certain music. It affects our brain waves. It can, people who have Alzheimer's disease, for instance, or dementia, if they hear like an old song that they grew up with, it's like they suddenly start coming back to life again, even though they have been maybe unresponsive or just, stuck and not being able to communicate very well. But it's like they hear a familiar song and suddenly they come alive again. So I invite you to pause this recording, especially if you are listening to it while you're driving, because you're going to want to be able to be someplace where you can sit down, put your feet on the ground, close your eyes, ideally, because that way you can really just absorb what I'm going to be sharing with you. And set the intention, and this is the intention that I set as well, is I set the intention that the message that you're going to receive will help to clear any blocks for you that are keeping you from speaking your own truth, and allow and help give you the confidence to set those boundaries, maybe in your life and your business, or both, or that was both, or one or the other, where you might be having some issues, and to really allow that to help you. So again, like I say, I invite you to just sit back for a moment, take a deep breath, relax, take a deep breath, let it out, and don't worry about what you're hearing. Like I said, don't try to follow it necessarily. It might even sound familiar to you. I've had clients who say that it sounds familiar. But again, don't just take it in and just hold that whatever comes through is for your soul's highest good. That's what I'm intending, and that's what I want to intend for you as well. Anno criamo can, sanno criano, acoyono hueano, sanna ke kohue, kano kayono kue, onna ka soyono, eka yana, sako eka huna, eka yana karane, kayona kanake, onna kiyanoke, hako eka yo tu eto anahi, Anakashano koyo no ki, kanakayo no kue, hanako kayo kiya, sanaku. Hanakashano kriyapo, hanakriyamo kiyatokanaki, hanakriyapata tundari, hanakiye shano kriyapana, korika koyadakayada, Asakisha no Kiapa Arayata Kasinya Omanake. Well, so I hope you received that with the love that was intended. So now that we've had our little clearing break and allowing some of that to come through you and to clear away maybe whatever is perhaps keeping you stuck in patterns that don't serve you. Let's talk about how to market with integrity, how to protect yourself, how to set up those boundaries. So, as I mentioned before, it really starts with learning how to value yourself. And this is self-care. And I'm hoping that there's like loud music going on outside of my window. That's why I'm getting a little distracted, and I'm hoping it's not being picked up on this microphone, because that would not be cool. Well, anyway, so think of marketing as an act of love. You need to come at it from that frame of reference. Yeah, there we go. I was trying to say frame point, which is not a word. I think I was trying to do viewpoint and framework, putting them together. Yeah, frame point. There we go. I coined a new word today. Because when you come from an act of desperation, that scarcity feeling that you got to be able to please people no matter what they want, you want to be able to serve everybody, you're not serving. And in fact, you're going to frankly chase away the people that really you're meant to serve. So you want to be able to love yourself enough to value yourself and to let go of whatever this idea you have that you have to do whatever it takes to be able to get clients. And that's another thing. It's like, get clients. We don't want to get clients. We want to attract. We want to be able to be of service so that someone will want to work with us. And setting boundaries is a really good way to do that, because you set expectations at the beginning of your interaction with someone so that they know what to expect. And frankly, people respect you more. They will respect you more when you do set those boundaries. And then you're going to attract perhaps fewer clients, but they may be much better aligned clients that you're going to love to work with, as opposed to clients who drain your energy, like I mentioned earlier. We want to be able to attract clients who are going to fill us up, who are going to light us up, who are going to take action on what we are recommending they do. And that's going to help you. So the other aspect of let's talk about content creation when it comes to setting boundaries. So when you're creating content to share on social media, for instance, or maybe you have a blog either on your website, or maybe you're using Substack, that's or some of these other platforms that are out there. No, for again, protecting your boundaries is you don't have to give everyone your whole story. There's an expression, sharing from your scars, but not your wounds. And I know I've heard this with other people, like for instance, in public speaking realm, that you don't want to, spew everything that happened to you, because you can really bring an audience down, and you can bring a reader down as well by, going through every, horrible tragedy perhaps that you've gone through. Instead, you want to be able to share from a place of what you've been able to, how you've overcome that, get to, like I mentioned that, yes, I experienced the loss of a sister, but I don't go into all of the gory details of all of it that I dealt with being a caregiver and et cetera, et cetera. I just say, oh yeah, so I had the loss of a sister, and that kind of threw me for a loop, and I had to reevaluate what it was I wanted to do. And you can do the same thing. And that's setting a boundary so that you are you're sharing, you want to be able to inspire. You want to inspire your prospect. You want to be able to give them enough of the backstory so that they can relate to you, because that's important. You want to be able to have them relate to you, but then show them what's possible and say, this is what, I overcame and now I'm able to do XYZ. And then they can say, oh, wow, well, maybe they can help me do XYZ as well, because I'm in that area of my life where I need what they're selling, and so keeping that as an idea of what to do, I think, is so important. And I think I've talked about this maybe even in my last episode. I don't remember now, but or it might have been in something else I was sharing. But when you get ready to create content, do it from a place where you are in a higher vibe state. Because even, the words that you write as well as what you speak, they all contain energy. And so if you are wanting to attract ideal clients, then be attractive. And I don't mean, how you look, but be attractive as a magnet. Be in that higher vibe state where you're feeling happy and excited about what you're doing and how you want to be able to be of service to people. And when you start creating content from that frame point, then your content is going to be much more magnetic and you are going to get responses to it. And just a case in point, in addition to the podcast, I've also been doing something I call Wisdom Wednesdays, where I record a short video and I use the daily word from Unity as my inspiration for that. That day's daily word is the topic that I share. And I've been posting this on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Excuse me, had a cough. Didn't want that on there. And I love this podcast. Don't get me wrong. So I get, really excited about sharing on the podcast, but I really love doing these little mini recordings as well. And the other, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, one of my friends actually caught it on Facebook and she's like, oh my gosh, you're like just so alive. And I forget exactly. I clipped what the comment was, but yeah, I just get really energized and everything just flows. And that's what I strive to do on the podcast as well. I have notes and things that I do, but I also want to be a light in the world. That's part of my purpose. And so I strive to be that. I don't come on here and do the podcast like this and it's like, yeah, here's what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. I know if you're watching this, you could tell immediately my energy went down. But I'm sure even listening to it, you can hear the difference between this as opposed to when I'm talking and I'm smiling. Your voice, the frequency, the pitch, that's it. The pitch of your voice, or the pitch of my voice at least, rises. So I'm speaking in a higher register when I'm smiling as opposed to when I'm like this. And then it's more, it's a lower frequency. It's not happy. And I don't even enjoy speaking this way. Blah! So I'm going to stop that. I don't want to do that anymore. It's icky. Okay. So we got that. Now, let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, okay. So, more boundary tips, how to set boundaries for yourself in sales conversations. So, one of the things that you could do is start pre-qualifying people and ask questions up front and get to see if this really is somebody that you want to work with, because it may be in asking certain questions that you realize, yeah, I'm not sure we're going to be a good fit. And here's the thing, you get to choose. And I know sometimes, again, let's say that perhaps maybe you're just starting out in business, or you've just decided to pivot and you're going a different direction, and you want to be able to attract more clients, and it may feel like, oh, I want to be able to serve people. I don't want to reject someone. And here's the thing, though. It's a magical thing. When you set boundaries for yourself about who you want to work with, it opens up space for the people you're meant to work with. See, because if you spend too much time dealing with all these other people who really are not aligned with you, then the people you want to work with, you're too busy for them, and they're going to go find somebody else. And I was going to make another point, but I'm just going to stick with that one. Yeah, they're going to go elsewhere. So it's so important to be okay with not serving everyone. Be okay with working with the clients that align with you. The more you do that, and the more you are putting out content that it really aligns with you, and helping serving people who really are aligned with you, well, guess what? If you're helping them, then they're going to become a referral partner for you, a referral source. They're going to rave about you to other people, and then you're going to attract more clients. Isn't that beautiful, the way that works? I think so. I think so. And also, you've got to learn how to be able to handle objections without desperation. I talked about that a little bit at the beginning. And because people are going to, what are the common objections? I don't have time, or I don't have enough money, or I got to check with my partner about this. There's all kinds of objections that people will have. And so before you even get on the sales call, you need to know how you're going to handle those. And I'm not going to get into all of that right now. There's lots of resources out there for you. And I probably even interviewed some people on the podcast in the past who are sales experts who can give you some tips on that. So you want to be prepared and say, okay, if someone comes up to me with, the money issue or the time issue, how can I handle that? And again, one of the best ways is to really paint a picture for them of what's going to happen if 6 months down the road they don't do this, or a year down the road. Are they going to be in the same place? And also use your intuition as well, because maybe you're in a position where, you know what, I am willing to serve this person at a lower price. For instance, let's say normally you would charge $5,000 a month for coaching, and you really like this person, and you really feel that you can help them, and they really seem to be very amenable and to feedback and to be able to take action. Then you're going to have to trust your gut a little bit and say, well, maybe I can offer them a smaller package, let's say, or so that it's maybe just offer them, okay, how about we just work together for 3 months as opposed to 6 months right now, and you just try it out for that amount of time, something like that. you can come up with ways to be able to do this. And one other thing is to, when you're following up, you want to follow up consistently, but don't be overly pushy, because again, you don't want to seem desperate. let's put it that way. You don't want to seem desperate. So think about what you can offer someone. Figure out your own pricing that is going to land with you, that's going to be comfortable for you to charge, maybe a little bit of a stretch. So you're not underpricing yourself. And again, set boundaries of that you don't have to respond to everything. You want to set limits. Well, here's a good one. Set limits for how often you're going to be even marketing yourself on social media every day, or however often you're going to do that. Set yourself up a time frame and say, okay, because social media can be a real, not only a time suck, but it can also be an energy suck. There's so much negativity out there. So set yourself a timer and say, okay, I'm going to be on this platform for 15 minutes a day. And I'm going to be on that platform for 20 minutes a day. And even choose the platforms where your ideal clients hang out. You don't have to be every place. You want to be where your prospects are active. And that's where you want to spend your time anyway. And if you find that you're getting, like, say, in your news feed, stuff that is coming up that just is threatening to drag you down, guess what? You cannot follow those people. You can unfollow, you can exit out, whatever. You are in control. You get to choose. So choose wisely. choose the people who light you up. And I know then it gets into algorithms that you wind up only seeing that stuff. And in this case, it might not be so bad, because especially if you're using these platforms for business in particular. So let's see. I've got like all of these notes, but I feel like I've already talked about a lot of this stuff already. So I think I'm going to summarize. I think we're going to move into a summary here, because I think I've covered enough. And if I haven't, if you missed out on something or felt that I missed out on something, let me know. Please, I would love to know. You can, and I just realized I didn't do any of my lovely banners today. But definitely you can contact me. I'm on LinkedIn at Gloria Grace Rand. I'm on YouTube. You can reach out to me on my website. You can even, if you want to actually really have a chat with me, it's not a sales call or anything like that, but let's just chat. You can go to engagewithgloria.com. That takes you right to my calendar, and you can set up an appointment. So, I'm happy to help and answer questions. So let's see. Okay, so what's our key takeaways? I hope that you've gotten from today is that boundaries are an act of self-care. It really is. It's an act of self-care. It's an act of self-love. Setting boundaries protects you. Your life experience is actually your competitive advantage. So tap into that. Don't be afraid to tap into that. And know that if you are going through a particular life transition, let's say something happens and that throws you for a loop, it's okay to give yourself the grace to put a pause on marketing for a little bit. Know that you're worth it. You're worth it. It's important to take that time to see, what is it I want to do going forward? how do I want to best serve people? Because it may be that you decide to change things up a little bit, and that's okay. It's so important to give that. A couple years ago, I separated from my husband, and it took a couple years for me to really start finding my footing. I was trying different things and, again, sort of seeing what's going to stick, throwing darts at the wall. And it's like been in this last year that I really feel like I've come up for air and I'm happy and I'm attracting opportunities. That's what happens when you are taking care of yourself and you really are establishing boundaries. Then you become much more aware. You're putting out this really good energy, and people feel that and respond to it, and you attract opportunities. So yeah, okay. So I have a challenge for you today before I close out, is to figure out what's one boundary that you could actually implement in your business this week, and then journal, track what the response is and how is it serving you. So take a look at that. So that could be something, it might be something as simple as setting the timer and saying, okay, I'm only going to be on social media for this many minutes, or I'm only going to do emails. I'm only going to look at my emails at the end of the day, instead of looking at, or maybe it's silencing your phone. I've gotten into the habit of silencing my phone, and I'll check it to see if there was like a text or a phone call when I'm taking a break from my work. But I don't have it constantly, dinging or buzzing me and interrupting my flow. So that's a boundary. That's an example of a boundary that you might want to set. And remember that you're not too much, you're not too old, you're not too late. You are exactly who your ideal clients need. So own that. Own your value. It's so important. And if you would like to ever have a private session with me of light language, if you really enjoyed listening to that earlier today, I offer a free private session, a short one, a 15-minute short one, so we can work on specifically whatever your issue is. And you can go to bit.ly/L, so 2 L's for light language, capital T, and then lowercase RIAL. So it's LL Trial. And you can experience a free 15-minute session. I do these over Zoom. So I will, send you a Zoom link when you sign up for that. And so I can work with you wherever you are, wherever you are in the world, because I know I have people who are listening to this in all sorts of different countries. So as long as you speak English, though. I am studying Hungarian, but I'm not fluent. And I used to know Spanish, but again, not fluent. Okay, so again, make sure that you are subscribed. And next week, I hope you'll tune in, because we've got a fabulous interview with Craig Pera. And he is the founder of the Mindful Habit System. And we're going to talk about how self-leadership can transform your emotional wounds into powerful catalysts for personal growth. So I hope you will tune in for that. And again, be subscribed on your favorite podcast platform or subscribe to us on YouTube. And until next time, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.